The jungle was silent, unnaturally so. Birds had vanished. Insects stopped humming. Dr. Lena Hartman froze mid-step, her boots sinking into the wet earth. A tremor rippled through the ground. Then another. The trees ahead shifted and groaned as something massive pushed through. Her satellite phone went dead. The air turned heavy with heat and fear. From the shadows emerged a beast thought loss of time. Eyes like molten amber, jaws wide enough to crush steel. The T-Rex wasn't just real. It was alive, it was hunting, and Lena had just trespassed into its kingdom. Dr. Lena Hartman had spent most of her life chasing ghosts. Not spirits, but fossils, bones that whispered ancient secrets buried deep beneath the earth. A paleontologist with a reputation for making impossible discoveries. She was recruited by a private research initiative called Genesis 1, a group that claimed to have found something alive in an uncharted region of the Kalimantan rainforest deep in Borneo. She didn't believe them. Not at first. But curiosity won, as it always did. Within days, she was on a helicopter with 3 others. Daniel Reeve, a rugged ex-military survivalist now working as security, Eli Zhang, a brilliant but eccentric tech specialist, and Maya Torres, a documentary filmmaker hired to capture the expedition. Their destination wasn't on any map. The coordinates were encrypted, and even the pilot spoke in hushed tones about the forbidden zone. Satellite imaging showed thick jungle and mountainous ridges, but no civilization, no trails, no outposts, only a stretch of untouched wilderness that the world had seemingly ignored. As the helicopter descended, Lena stared out the window. Mist rose like smoke from the canopy. Something about the forest below felt untouched, as if time itself had paused. The moment they landed, the heat clamped down like a fist. Sweat slicked their backs. Insects buzzed near their ears. The trees towered above them, ancient and silent. Genesis 1 had left them a field station near the edge of a river. Prefabricated shelters, crates of supplies, and a solar-powered communication hub. But there was no welcoming party, no researchers, no guards. Only a message scratched onto the side of a metal case. Stay out of the valley. If you hear the drums, run. Daniel read the note aloud and gave a dry chuckle. Nice. Real welcoming. Lena frowned. She had studied enough tribal warnings and folklore to know when something wasn't a joke. That night, as darkness swallowed the forest and strange calls echoed through the trees, she stared into the fire and whispered to herself, "This isn't just a dig site. It's a graveyard. Or worse, a cage." By the second morning, the jungle had swallowed the camp's noise. The solar comms were glitching. No signals were getting through. Eli tried rebooting the system but only got static. Daniel did a perimeter check and found deep gouges in a nearby tree. Not claw marks. Something bigger, wider. Lena brushed her fingers over the grooves. This wasn't made by any animal that belongs in this time. They decided to head into the valley despite the warning. They were scientists, explorers, and no one had come here to play it safe. The valley was breathtaking. Towering cliffs, a narrow pass, and plants she couldn't even name. But it was too quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind, just heat and tension. They set up motion sensors and small field cams. Within an hour, 2 were torn apart, not malfunctioning, physically ripped from the trees and crushed. Maya filmed everything, but even her lens trembled when they heard the first sound. A low rumble, not thunder, a stomp, then another. The trees to their left shook. Something massive moved between them. Daniel raised his rifle. Eyes up. We're not alone. Branches cracked. Birds burst into the air. And then they saw it, not through mist, not from shadows, right in front of them. The Tyrannosaurus Rex stepped from the jungle like a god from legend. Its scales shimmered with rain and dirt. Muscles rippled beneath its thick hide. Its head alone was larger than their tent. It sniffed the air with a slow, calculated motion. One eye locked onto them. Lena's heart stopped. "This isn't a clone," she whispered. "It's not engineered. It's not grown in a lab. This is real." Daniel didn't wait for explanations. Run. They bolted. The beast roared, a sound so loud it felt like a punch to the chest. It gave chase. Trees snapped like twigs. Roots tore free. The jungle itself seemed to flee from its path. They stumbled down a ravine, diving into a muddy stream, breathless and bruised. The T-Rex halted at the edge, sniffed, and let out another bone-shaking roar before turning away. They didn't stop running until the valley was far behind. When they reached camp, Lena collapsed beside a crate, drenched in sweat. It's alive. That note was real. Daniel checked his rifle, jaw clenched. Whatever this place is, it's not just hiding something. It's guarding it. Eli looked pale. We just made contact with a living dinosaur. Maya checked her footage with trembling hands. The world needs to see this. But Lena looked toward the trees. The message was burned in her mind now. If you hear the drums, run. That night, they heard the drums. Low, distant, rhythmic, not tribal, not human. A warning, a call, or maybe a countdown. The drums grew louder through the night. They weren't made by hands. The rhythm echoed through the earth itself, as if the jungle were alive and pulsing with ancient memory. No one slept. By dawn, their camp was torn apart. Not by wind, not by accident. The crates were smashed. The satellite dish had been torn in half. The tent shredded. There were no footprints, only deep impressions. Circular, massive, the kind made by something that didn't care what it stepped on. Daniel checked his rifle again. This isn't just a dinosaur. It's a predator playing with us. Lena crouched by one of the crates and held up a muddy artifact she hadn't noticed before, a fossilized tooth, larger than her hand. But it wasn't stone. It was fresh. That's when Eli's scream cut through the jungle. They sprinted toward the sound and found his gear scattered, his voice fading deeper into the trees. The cameras were still running, dropped mid-recording. One caught the last second of his face before something dark and fast pulled him backward. Daniel took point. Maya followed, camera still rolling. They pushed through the vines and brush, each footstep echoing between thundering heartbeats and snapping twigs. The air thickened with heat and tension. Lena could barely breathe. Then they reached the cliffside. The T-Rex stood at the base of the valley. Its eyes locked on them instantly. In its jaws, a boot. Eli's. The roar came next. Deafening. Final. Daniel opened fire. The rounds barely pierced its hide. It charged. They scattered. Lena rolled into a trench, gripping the tooth like a dagger. Maya sprinted toward a fallen tree. Daniel fired a flare into the canopy, hoping to blind it. The beast swerved toward the flame, distracted for a second, just enough time. Lena remembered something from a research paper. The skull had pressure points. Weak ones. She climbed up a rock ledge, adrenaline overriding fear. As the T-Rex lifted its head toward the flare, she leapt. The impact jarred her spine. She gripped its neck, pulled herself up its rough hide, and jammed the fossil tooth into the soft spot behind its eye ridge. It roared and bucked. She held tight. The creature flailed, stumbled, and rammed its skull into a rock wall. The vibration knocked her loose. She hit the ground hard. The T-Rex staggered, the tooth still lodged deep, blood mixing with rain. It collapsed with a final exhale, shaking the earth as it fell. The jungle went silent again. Maya helped Lena up. Her face was streaked with tears and mud. We need to go. Now. Daniel limped over, bruised but alive. Eli's gone. But so is that monster. Lena looked back at the valley. She didn't smile. She didn't cheer. Because she knew. That roar hadn't come from one. There had been another. The drums started again. Closer this time. They moved fast. No one spoke much as they packed the few supplies that remained. Every sound in the jungle now felt heavier. Every broken branch could be a footstep. Every silence could mean something was watching. Daniel kept his rifle ready, even though they all knew it wouldn't stop another T-Rex. Lena replayed the last 24 hours in her head. Eli was gone. The beast was real. And the valley held more secrets than any of them were ready for. They reached the outer perimeter by noon. The backup generator was destroyed. The signal tower was crushed beneath something massive. There would be no rescue. Maya pulled out a second hard drive, one she had hidden in her vest. "The footage is intact," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Every second of it." Lena took it and stared at the jungle behind them. This isn't a research failure. It's a discovery that shouldn't exist. Daniel crouched and pointed at fresh tracks leading toward the cliffs. Bigger than before. Wider. Heavy. "We didn't kill the only one," he said. "We just woke the others." Maya wiped dirt from her lens. What if they were never extinct here? What if this place kept them alive? Lena nodded slowly. Time doesn't move the same here. It's isolated, preserved. Something about this land, the soil, the atmosphere, maybe it trapped a piece of the past. They moved to higher ground and found a long, winding ridge that curved around the valley. Below, Lena saw a movement. Shadows too large for any known animal. Long tails, thick legs, predators moving in pairs. A whole pack. The T-Rex they faced was just a scout, a lone hunter. Now, the others were rising. The drums returned, louder, deeper, closer. Daniel turned to Lena. "If we can't contact the outside world, we bury it." Maya shook her head. "You can't hide something like this." Lena answered, voice steady. "We're not hiding it. We're containing it." They hiked to an old observation bunker built into the cliffs. It had survived whatever happened here before. Solid, reinforced, powered by deep cell solar batteries. Inside were maps, journals, half-burned files, names of previous teams, photos of skeletons, half-written field logs. Genesis 1 hadn't just found the T-Rex. They had tried to study them, control them, breed them, and they failed. One file had a single word scribbled in red: rebirth. They stayed hidden in the bunker for 2 days. The solar power held. The oxygen levels were fine. But outside, the jungle was alive with movement. Heavy footsteps shook the earth at regular intervals. The drums, now clearly the sound of ancient creatures communicating, beat through the soil like war chants. From the bunker window, they saw the truth. This wasn't just a nesting ground. It was a territory, a functioning ecosystem, a living remnant of the Cretaceous world, untouched by extinction, protected by isolation, and ruled by apex predators that had never needed evolution to survive. Lena stared through the glass, her voice quiet. The world isn't ready for this. It never was. Daniel paced behind her, his legs still bandaged. "So what do we do? Sit here forever?" Maya held up the hard drive again. "We have proof. But if we share it, governments will come. Corporations. Hunters. They'll bring guns and greed." Lena took the drive, walked to the control panel, and slid open the emergency incinerator chute. She looked at Maya. "He died for this." Her eyes were wet but firm. "But not so someone can turn it into a zoo. Or a weapon." Maya hesitated, then nodded. Lena dropped the drive into the flames. The only evidence of what they'd seen turned to ash in seconds. They left the valley at sunrise. 3 days of hiking, river crossings, climbing broken cliffs, sleeping in shifts, watching the sky for shadows that weren't clouds. When they emerged from the jungle and reached the abandoned Genesis 1 outpost, they found a backup radio. Cracked but functional. Static at first, then a voice. "Expedition Team 7, do you copy?" Daniel grabbed the mic. "This is Team 7. We're alive. Request immediate extraction." The voice asked for coordinates. Lena didn't give them the real ones. She gave coordinates just outside the jungle's edge. Close enough for pickup. Far enough to keep the secret buried. 2 hours later, a chopper came. Dust swirled. They climbed aboard. As the rotors lifted them away, Lena looked down one last time. The jungle below was peaceful, but somewhere in its shadowed heart, an amber eye blinked. Watching. Waiting. Still the king.